Aloha and welcome. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about classes again. Specifically, we're going to be talking about instance methods. We kind of hit on this in our last lesson, but we're going to specifically talk about instance methods here. So let me open up Visual Studio Code. And we're going to be using the same example from the last lesson because we rather covered a good bit of this actually. So an instant method is a function that's defined within your class. If you'll remember, we defined two classes or two functions in the last one called get older and tell age. And we put in self as our first, first parameter in here. And what that is doing is it's sending in the instance to the method call. So when we come down here, we don't have to set the argument. When we're sending it in, the argument is actually, the first one is automatically set. So let's say we were to not have self up here for tell age. What do you think would happen if we forget to put in that argument? Let's take a look. It's going to be a little bit funny what's going to happen. You're going to get an error, and that error is going to say that it takes zero positional, that our call here takes zero positional arguments, but one was given. In other words, it says, I'm not expecting anything here, but it gave me one. And you look at it and you say, well, tell age, I didn't actually send it anything. Well, the reason why you get that error is because it automatically sends, whenever you're calling a method, it automatically sends the instance as the first, as your first argument. It's invisibly done, but it's sending the first one. So if you don't have an argument here of self, it's going to give you an error here saying that it takes zero positional arguments, but one was given. So we're going to go ahead and put self back in there. And if we run that, it should give us just what we saw in our last lesson. So we're going to clear that out. So as you figured out before, and you realize here, just like when we're accessing attributes, we're using the dot notation in order to get to our methods as well. So if you wanted to reach age in here, you'd use John or Bob.age. Same way you'd get to the methods, you'd use John or Bob dot, and then the name of the function. So it's not terribly complicated. We did go over this in the last one. What we did talk about in the last one was our dunder init dunder. This is a special method name, and there are other ones that start with dunder and end in dunder. And in generally, when you're naming your own methods, please don't use the dunder, the double underscore, because that kind of denotes special method names. And if you were to accidentally use one that's that exists already, that would be a bit of a problem. And remember, you can find out what kind of stuff is out there by doing something like print dir of, I do it directly on John, let's see. Yep, so when you do that, you'll see a bunch of dunders here. So you got dunder dick, dunder dir, dunder doc, you've got all these built-in special methods. So you don't want to collide with any of those. So in general, when you're making your own methods, don't use the dunder in there because that denotes that it's a it's a special type of, it's an actual special type of method. So don't do that. Okay. So other than special method names, that's about it. Recapping what we've talked about here, be careful of omitting yourself here because it's automatically going to send one in there. Also, we access methods through the dot notation. So those are the two main takeaways here. So if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email, reach out, and I'd be glad to discuss this with you. But yeah, this is a really quick lesson. We kind of covered everything in the last lesson, but yeah, it's a nice little refresher here. So enjoy, and I'll see you in the next lesson.